There's something unsettling you may have noticed in life. Some people walk through chaos and somehow remain untouched. They're criticized and nothing happens. They're rejected and they don't collapse. They lose something important and still they remain grounded. Not cold, not arrogant, just unmovable. Meanwhile, most people live like exposed nerves. One careless comment ruins their entire day. One unanswered message creates anxiety. One failure replays in their mind all night. Same world, same pressure, completely different outcome. So here's the question that matters. What do those unshakable people know that most people don't? Here's a truth that changes everything. Nothing in this world has power over you unless it finds something inside you to attach to. Think of it like this. An arrow only wounds you if your armor already has a crack. Fire only spreads where something is flammable. A storm only destroys structures built on weak foundations. The world doesn't break you. It reveals where you're already exposed. This is something Carl Jung understood deeply. Jung believed that most people are not living freely. They are reacting unconsciously. They believe life is doing things to them, when in reality life is reflecting them. When someone insults you and it hurts, it's not the insult. It's the doubt inside you whispering, what if they're right? When someone ignores you and you feel empty, it's not the silence. It's the need for validation you never learned to give yourself. Two people can experience the exact same moment and walk away completely different, which means the pain was never in the event, it was in the interpretation. Be honest, how many of your reactions are actually choices? Most people think they are responding consciously, but they're not. They're reacting on autopilot. Carl Jung warned that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Think about how much of your emotional life feels automatic. Anger that rises before logic. Anxiety that appears without invitation. Sadness that shows up even when nothing seems wrong. That's not weakness. That's unconscious conditioning. And unconscious conditioning is expensive. It costs you peace. It costs you clarity. It costs you control over your own mind. So here's another question most people avoid. If nothing outside controls you, why are you still exhausted? Because reacting drains energy. Every emotional spike is a leak. Most people spend their entire lives trying to control the outside world, so they don't have to face what's happening inside. They try to control how others see them. They try to control outcomes. They try to control certainty, timing, and approval. But control is an addiction, and like every addiction, it makes you weaker the more you depend on it. The moment you need respect, disrespect owns you. The moment you need certainty, uncertainty terrifies you. The moment you need things to go your way, life gains leverage over you. That's not strength. That's dependency disguised as confidence. Think about the last time you checked your phone and saw no reply. Nothing actually happened. No insult, no rejection, no danger. And yet, your body reacted as if something was wrong. Your chest tightened, your mind started creating stories, your mood shifted. Why? Because the mind reacts before it understands. This pattern has been observed for decades in depth psychology and neuroscience. The nervous system fires first. Meaning comes later. Most people never question that process. They let the reaction decide the story. But unshakable people do something different. They pause. They observe. They separate the sensation from the meaning. And in that moment, power returns. Think of your mind like a control room. Most people live with alarms screaming nonstop, but they never look at the panel. They just panic. The unshakable ones don't silence the alarms. They read them. They understand what each signal means, and slowly the alarms stop running their life. Imagine someone insults you. Normally your body reacts before your mind. Your heart rate spikes. Your thoughts rush in. Your ego prepares for battle. But now imagine something different. You watch the reaction rise like a wave, and instead of jumping into it, you let it pass. No story. No self-attack. No replay, just awareness. That moment is where control shifts back to you, because nothing outside of you moved your center. And once your center no longer depends on the outside loses its grip. This is only the first door. Behind it lies something deeper, because awareness alone will reveal the pain you've been avoiding. And that's where real strength is forged. Most people don't realize this, but they are addicted. Not to substances and not to pleasure, but to control. They want to control how others see them. They want to control outcomes before they happen. They want guarantees in a world that never offered any. And every time reality refuses to cooperate, they suffer. They get angry when they feel disrespected. They feel betrayed when plans fall apart. They spiral when life doesn't follow the script in their head, as if the universe promised to protect them and then broke that promise. But here's the truth that changes everything. Life never promised you comfort. It never promised you certainty. It never promised you fairness. It promised experience. And the moment you demand more than that, you begin fighting reality itself. That's a fight you can never win. This is why so many people feel tired all the time. Not physically tired, but existentially exhausted. They are constantly managing, predicting, adjusting, and defending. They are trying to hold water in their hands and wondering why they're always empty. If control truly worked, why does trying harder only make you feel more anxious? Because control is fear wearing authority. It looks like strength and feels like responsibility, but underneath it's driven by one question: what if something goes wrong? The more you need things to go a certain way, the more fragile you become when they don't. The moment you need approval, rejection has power over you. The moment you need certainty, uncertainty becomes a threat. The moment you need success to feel worthy, failure feels like identity collapse. That's not power. That's a hostage situation. The people who are truly unshakable are not the ones who control everything. They are the ones who no longer negotiate their peace with outcomes. They understand something subtle but profound. Letting go is not giving up. It's reclaiming energy. Imagine gripping sand in your fist. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Open your hand and it rests there. Life works the same way. The more you chase certainty, the more uncertain you feel. The more you chase control, the more powerless you become. But the moment you stop forcing, something unexpected happens. Clarity appears. This isn't mysticism. It's psychology. When the mind stops resisting reality, it frees up enormous energy. Energy that was previously wasted on anxiety, mental rehearsal, and emotional defense. That energy doesn't disappear. It becomes presence. It becomes confidence. It becomes calm. This is why some people walk into chaos and remain centered. Not because nothing affects them, but because nothing owns them. Now imagine this. Someone insults you directly face to face. Words meant to provoke. Most people react before they even think. The body tightens. The ego scrambles for defense. The mind starts writing arguments. But pause for a moment. Where does the pain actually happen? Not in the words. Words are just sound. The pain happens in the meaning you attach to them, and meaning always comes from inside you. This is why one person shrugs off an insult while another carries it for years. The words didn't change. The inner landscape did. When your sense of self depends on validation, criticism feels like an attack. When your worth is tied to performance, failure feels like exposure. When your peace depends on approval, rejection feels unbearable. The reaction isn't weakness. It's attachment. Attachment to an image. Attachment to a role. Attachment to how you think life should treat you. And as long as you're attached, you're vulnerable. Avoiding pain doesn't solve this. Silencing people doesn't solve this. Winning arguments doesn't solve this. Because wherever you go, you take your unresolved wounds with you. Different faces, same reaction. This is why awareness matters so much. Because awareness breaks the pattern. Instead of reacting, you observe. Instead of identifying with the emotion, you notice it. Instead of drowning in the wave, you watch it pass. This doesn't happen overnight. It's trained. Every time you pause instead of reacting, you weaken the old circuit. Every time you choose awareness over impulse, you reclaim control. Over time, something incredible happens. The trigger still appears, but it doesn't hook you. The insult still exists, but it doesn't define you. The uncertainty still shows up, but it doesn't paralyze you. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Think of your mind like a stage. Most people are actors trapped inside the play, reacting to every scene. The unshakable ones step off the stage. They watch the play, and from that position, nothing has power over them. This is what emotional detachment actually is. Not numbness, but perspective. You still feel emotions, but you're no longer swallowed by them. You are the sky, not the storm. Storms pass. The sky remains. And once you live from that place, people sense it. They can't provoke you. They can't manipulate you. They can't hijack your peace, because there's nothing to grab onto. You've removed the hooks. But awareness alone isn't the end of the journey, because once you stop reacting, you begin to notice something deeper. Pain you've been avoiding, wounds you've been protecting. And that's where the real work begins. Most people believe pain is the enemy. They treat it like a fire alarm that must be silenced immediately. They distract themselves, stay busy, scroll endlessly, numb their emotions, and pretend everything is fine. And yet the pain never leaves. It just changes form. Ignored pain doesn't disappear. It transforms. It becomes anxiety with no clear reason. It becomes anger that erupts at the wrong moments. It becomes emptiness that no achievement can fill. This is something Carl Jung understood deeply. He believed pain is not a malfunction of the psyche, it is a message. Pain is the unconscious knocking on the door saying there is something here you have not faced. But instead of opening that door, most people barricade it. They treat suffering like an intruder when in reality it is a messenger. And messengers do not stop knocking until they are heard. Think of pain like pressure building inside a sealed container. You can ignore it. You can pretend it is not there. But pressure does not disappear. It either gets released consciously or it explodes unconsciously. That explosion is what people call burnout, emotional breakdowns, sudden collapses. Not because they were weak, but because they avoided listening for too long. Carl Jung once said that depression is like a woman dressed in black. If she appears, do not chase her away. Invite her in. Sit with her. Ask her what she has come to teach you. But this terrifies the ego, because pain does not just ask you to feel. It asks you to change. And change feels like death to the identity you have been protecting. There is a quiet war happening inside you. One part of you wants growth. Another part wants safety. One part wants truth. Another part wants comfort. Pain is born in that conflict, because growth demands letting go of old beliefs, old roles, and old versions of yourself. And letting go hurts. It feels like losing control. It feels like losing identity. It feels like stepping into the unknown without armor. But here is the truth most people never hear. You do not suffer because you feel too much. You suffer because you resist what you feel. The moment you stop fighting pain, it loses its sharp edge. The moment you allow yourself to feel fully, without judgment and without escape, something shifts. Pain softens. It stops screaming, because it is finally being acknowledged. This is where real strength is forged, not in domination, not in suppression, but in acceptance. When you face your wounds instead of hiding them, they lose their power over you. Nothing outside can destabilize what you have already integrated within you. Carl Jung called the hidden parts of our psyche the shadow. These are the emotions, fears, and impulses you were never taught how to deal with. Anger you were told to suppress. Neediness you were taught to hide. Fear you were told to be strong against. So you buried them. But what is buried alive does not die. It waits. And it waits for moments of stress, rejection, or failure to take control. This is why reactions feel automatic. The shadow is not evil. It is unintegrated. And what remains unintegrated controls you from the dark. Integration does not mean indulging these parts. It means understanding them, turning toward them with awareness, asking, what are you trying to protect? What do you need? What have I been avoiding? The moment you bring the shadow into awareness, it loses its grip. This is why people who have done deep inner work appear calm in situations that break others. Not because nothing affects them, but because nothing inside them is unfamiliar. They have already met their darkness. And once you have faced your own depths, the outside world loses its power to destabilize you. There is a cost to this transformation, and very few people talk about it. Growth creates distance. Not because you become better than others, but because you stop resonating with what once sustained you. Surface conversations feel empty. Drama feels exhausting. Validation feels unnecessary. You do not withdraw out of arrogance. You withdraw out of alignment. Most people are still running from themselves, still numbing, still reacting. And when you stop doing that, you naturally separate. This can feel lonely, but it is not isolation. It is maturation. You are no longer hiding, and that changes who can truly meet you. Real connection does not happen at the surface. It happens in depth, and depth is earned. Here is what no motivational video tells you. Before you become unshakable, you will feel shaken. Before you feel clear, you will feel confused. Before you feel whole, parts of you will fall apart. This is not failure. This is initiation. Like steel being tempered in fire, strength is forged under pressure. And pressure only hurts when you resist it. Once you understand this, suffering stops being the enemy. It becomes a guide, pointing you toward what must be integrated, pointing you toward who you are becoming. And once you stop running from that process, nothing in the world can threaten you the same way again, because you have already faced the hardest thing there is to face, yourself. Now listen carefully, because there is one final illusion that must collapse before you become truly untouchable. The illusion that something outside of you is responsible for your inner state. As long as you believe that other people, past events, or future outcomes determine how you feel, you remain vulnerable. Not because the world is cruel, but because you have handed it authority over you. This is where Carl Jung was uncompromising. He believed that true freedom does not come from changing life. It comes from becoming conscious of yourself. Nothing will ever fully protect you from life. People will disappoint you. Plans will fall apart. Loss will eventually arrive. That part is unavoidable. But suffering, the kind that breaks you from the inside, is optional. And the difference is awareness. Most people live like exposed electrical wiring. Any external input, a word, a look, a memory, instantly short-circuits their nervous system. They react automatically, unconsciously, habitually. They do not choose their emotions. Their emotions choose them. But once you understand how your inner world works, the circuit closes. Energy stops leaking. You stop reacting automatically and start responding deliberately. This is the moment you take your power back. Carl Jung warned that what you resist persists, and what you accept transforms. Think about how much of your life has been spent resisting. Resisting fear, resisting rejection, resisting vulnerability, resisting the possibility that you do not need to prove anything anymore. That resistance has drained more energy from you than any external struggle ever could. But now something changes. Instead of fighting emotions, you observe them. Instead of blaming the world, you investigate yourself. Instead of trying to become untouchable by hardening, you become untouchable by clarifying. This is real emotional immunity. You still feel pain, but it no longer defines you. You still experience loss, but you do not lose yourself with it. You still face uncertainty, but it no longer paralyzes you. Why does this happen? because you are no longer identified with every passing thought or emotion. You are the observer. Think of consciousness like deep water. On the surface, waves crash violently. Storms create chaos. Everything feels unstable. But go deeper. Just a few meters below, there is silence, stillness, strength. Most people live on the surface of their minds. Every wave throws them around. But when you descend into awareness, you discover a place inside you that nothing can reach. That is where real power lies. Not loud, not aggressive, not defensive, unshakable. This is why the truly grounded do not chase revenge. They do not beg for validation. They do not panic in uncertainty. They have already found something deeper than approval, control, or certainty. They have found themselves. And once you live from that place, the world changes. Not because it becomes different, but because it no longer owns you. People can try to provoke you, but there is nothing to hook into. Circumstances can collapse, but your center remains intact. The same events that once shattered you now pass through you like weather. You are no longer fragile, not because you became harder, but because you became whole. This is what Carl Jung meant by individuation. Not perfection, not invulnerability, integration, light and shadow, strength and vulnerability, confidence and humility, held together by awareness. And that awareness becomes your shield. So if you are listening to this and something feels different inside you, a quiet clarity, a sense of recognition, that is not coincidence. It means you are ready to stop surviving by pretending to be strong and start living by being conscious. Before you go, anchor this truth deeply. Nothing outside of you has power over you unless you give it one. Read that again in your mind. And now ask yourself, what are you done giving power to? If you stay, this channel will not just change how you think. It will change how you respond to life. So if you are ready to become calm in chaos, clear in confusion, and unshaken by the world, subscribe. Not for motivation, not for entertainment, but because this is the path you are already walking, and the next step matters. I will see you in the next one.